What's up, Sean?
Greetings, Edgerenka. So many things have happened this week. But earlier today, the BVI Health Services Authority, on behalf of People's Hospital, received $10,000 from Belmont Homeowners Association. They decided to show their gratitude to the staff and the management at the Health Services Authority for taking care of one of their own. And when I say one of their own, the husband of a lady who passed away some time ago, Mr. Larry Levine, he was speaking glowingly of the local health services. He was so happy with the way his wife was treated as she left this life. And he, along with other members of that Belmont Estate area, decided that they needed to return that gratitude in a tangible form rather than just saying, thank you, great work. And it was well received today by the healthcare officials. And he went further to basically paint what I am saying again is a glowing picture of the local health services authority. Let's say how he describes things.
This gift is a statement by the Belmont Homeowners Association and all of the residents in Belmont of how highly we value this hospital and how highly we value the medical care that is available to one and all in the BVI. For those of us who have been in the BVI for any period of time, the magnificent advances that have been made here are truly astounding. And it is our hope to be able to help medical care advance still even further, and for us to express our desire to be part and parcel of this community, which has indeed given us all so much. The second part of this presentation is, of course, in memory of my wife. And her care here, I think, is illustrative of the kinds of advances and the kinds of dynamic change that have occurred here. Starting 3 or 4 years ago with the care and the physical therapy she received from Tanya Medley, up to 2 years ago when Dr. Buring took over her care, followed this year by first Dr. Craig Stout, and then lovingly by Myrtle Stout and Nisha Kent, among others, who took care of her while she was here, and followed, most significantly for today, by the incredible care she received at this hospital, not once, but twice. And the care was expansive, not only treating her when she came into the emergency room, but treating her in the hospital itself, and including really the most advanced psychological and social services care that we received while Sherry was a patient here.
There are some recurring themes there. Dynamic change, magnificent, and it's really coming from someone who obviously has an international reference point as well. I had a chat with him after his presentation, and you will hear more about that in the news segment later this weekend. But when I heard the level of applaud coming from folks who have an experience to share in terms of their own encounters with healthcare facilities outside of BVI, it struck a note that this should be a topic for discussion, in the sense that we ought to give high praise to the officials there at the BVI Health Services Authority for the grand work, the wonderful work, the magnificent work, as Larry says, that they're doing to ensure that the standard of healthcare in the territory is taken to new heights.
But that's certainly interesting, Sean, particularly from the perspective of the way we've been hearing many local persons talk about the healthcare services and the BVI. To hear someone who's been living here a long time speak in such glowing terms sort of shed a different perspective or different light on the healthcare services. Yes. I have to say personally, and I don't know about you, that I've been hearing more and more positive things about the Health Services Authority since that new hospital has been open, and before that, because there were some changes. The services are improving, the equipment increased. Technical equipment has been delivered to as part of the service.
Yes.
A number of people have been giving to the hospital.
Yes.
People have been making donations,
That's right.
and the level of care seemed to have improved tremendously. A lot of things that we used to have to go to Puerto Rico for, we no longer have to go for. Some specialist services have been included in the provision of service. So I would say that from his perspective, the Belmont community, I would have to agree that the services have improved and continue to improve, and I'm happy that that community particularly recognized that services have improved, because I think the general community tends to agree when other persons other than ourselves speak highly of the services that we are doing.
Of course, there are different views on the $100 million facility. Many people seem to have missed the transition from the old hospital to this new state-of-the-art facility on December 29, 2014. We heard the statements at the ceremony earlier in December 17th, I believe, of 2014, for the grand opening of the hospital. We heard the then opposition leader, veteran politician, Honorable Ralph O'Neill, saying, brand new facility, yes, make sure you lift the standards and provide that quality of service at that facility. And now we are getting that sort of that validation coming from customers, if you like, of the facility. And of course, you've been there on many occasions just today, just looking around and observing the standards that are being maintained, and in many cases being raised, also require some level of applause as well. And in some cases too, maybe they ought to be sounding their horns a bit louder, saying more about what they're doing, so that even the critics would have a better appreciation of the situation and the challenges. Because yes, there are some issues. There's still, of course, it's still a transition process, I can imagine, and I wouldn't necessarily be vouching for them totally. But it requires that holistic approach, I would suspect. And for me, the only issue I have is parking when I get there.
Well, I've had occasion to access care for my dad over the last several weeks. And I have to say that I've noticed significant improvement, reduction in waiting time, consultation with specialist doctors, the willingness to test and check and double check and monitor and make sure that that he got the care that he needed, and to identify the causes of the illness and the treatment modalities and so on. I personally was impressed by the way the service was delivered to my
And
my
it
dad.
instills confidence in the territory, not so
Yes.
for visitors and anyone coming into the territory, and of course residents as well.
And he has been healed. I mean, he's been better. His ailment has been cured.
That's your father.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
from the treatment. The
Right.
treatment, it was an infection. The treatment took care of it, and now he no longer has the problem that he was having when he went. So, it's just,
We don't know what's happening in the health facilities outside of Roton, outside of the People's Hospital at this point. It would be good to hear what's happening there. How is that transition taking place? How are the standards now compared to December of 2014? And of course, even as it relates to the Iris O'Neill Medical Center on Virgin Gorda, we haven't had a report, an update, so to speak, for a while.
on that.
Yes.
But I also have I also access my father also accessed the clinic.
Yes.
And he receives similar professionalism and care at the clinics as well. So I don't have anything bad to say.
Well, maybe you don't, but maybe
knock on wood. knock on wood. I haven't had any occasion
There you go.
to access service for myself personally. But certainly it's just a greater concern as if it was I myself accessing the service for my father. So I only have good things to say about the healthcare.
But while we are on the healthcare issue, but to segue into matter related to the Belmont Estate. I noticed that the Minister for Natural Resources and Labor is listing Belmont Estate and Smuggler's Cove and so forth on a list that he wishes to have preserved, so to speak. And it would have been good for him to go into more detail articulating why these areas were selected, which section of those areas are actually earmarked. And well, in any case, he did say that you can view the maps at the Natural Resources, or I believe at the administrative building, and one other area that I can't recall at the moment. But it would have been good for him to explain, to share with the territory why those areas have been selected, because it's only via the posting of the government's gazette that information has been disclosed.
Yeah, and then hopefully we can get that information, because it's always good to know reasons why things are done the way they're done, and why they're done that way. Yes. If my memory serves me correctly, I think there is some Amerindian artifacts that were discovered in the Belmont area. I think I remember that some years back, and I'm wondering whether that's the area that's being preserved. Yes. And I know that we are developing our tourism product to reflect our historic sites and our heritage sites, and to have them to be a part of the tours that visitors will come and take while they are on vacation for 2 or 3 days. So that might be the case, but I think
right.
it's good. It's good to get the information from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Right.
So hopefully the information is there, and we could take a look at where that information is and bring it to the attention of the public.
Well, for the time being, the minister says we can go to the National Parks Trust, look at the site map, and I suppose what he did also indicate via that release or statement rather posted via the government's gazette that you can submit your questions, suggestions by April 29th. So there is that room for communicating, I would suspect, but whether it's going to be a two-way communication process, I'm not sure, and the length of time between submitting your questions or suggestions and receiving a response and so forth.
Well, we're going to have to go and take a look at that, Sean. Certainly
Yes.
It was interesting information, and we look forward to getting more information, and we certainly would like to thank the people of the Belmont community for making such a generous contribution to the enhancement of healthcare services in the territory.
Kudos to the officials over there at BVI HSA. They continue to attract support from the community as they seek to improve the level of healthcare in the territory.
Yep. Thanks for that report. Those are two interesting points.